So, hello and welcome to Shift Happens, Margarita Forster. I'm really excited that you have the time for this conversation because I know that you have busy days ahead of you in Zurich, the atelier days. We
Mhm.
will talk about those later.
Mhm.
Before we get started, I wanted to ask you, apple or oranges?
Oranges. And thank you very much for having me over.
You're welcome. Still or sparkling?
Still,
Dogs or cats?
cats.
What was a moment last week that made you laugh?
Oh, good question. Um, well, talking to my children, it always makes, well, yeah, I know. My daughter sent me a picture of her new haircut. And but before she sent the picture, she told me, Mama, I know you are not going to like it.
Hmm.
And then she sent the picture, and then I realized how. I mean, I think she looks beautiful, but I realized what she meant before. So she was preparing me. I
Yeah,
had to really a good laugh.
yeah, I see. So, you are active in South America. You yourself
Mhm,
come from Ecuador, and for 25 years, you have now running the Fondación Avanzar in Switzerland and in Ecuador. And
mhm,
that's a huge endeavor that you
mhm.
not only took on but built out. So, can you just give a little bit of background to, as a young Ecuadorian walking around your areas, what struck you the most?
Um, that was just before we started. That was the moment. Well, a changing moment in the life because we had our first baby, our son Nicolas. In that moment, many things change,
Hmm.
especially the way you see life and the way you see opportunities, because suddenly you start from being one to being two, and to start thinking about what is going to happen to this person.
Hmm.
How is he going to grow? Will he have the same chances or the chances that I wish for him?
Hmm.
And in this process, I went to Ecuador. So Nicholas was born. I went with him to Ecuador to present him to my family. And just actually by chance, my mother, Nicholas, and me, we visited a home for single moms. So Nicholas was a baby. We were there. And this home for single moms, that actually we went there just because we wanted to have something washed by hand. That was the reason to go there. But entering in this place was a moment of, no return. It's like you see this, you cannot unsee it.
Hmm.
Suddenly,
Hmm.
you cannot unsee it, and it stays with you because I saw all these young mothers with their children, uh, children that many of them didn't plan, so very young, and one of the things that I realized is my home where I grew up wasn't that far away from this place.
Hmm.
Means we had been living kind of, I don't know, just a couple hundred meters away from each other.
Hmm.
And my life has been so different to these ladies.
Hmm.
And the life of my son will be so different to their children. Um, and yeah, I mean, actually, it was a very if I would have been working or doing other things, I would have not had the time to do what
Hmm.
I did afterwards. But I
Hmm.
think it was meant to be because I was there
Hmm.
having a little child that made me see so many things that I didn't see before. And I had quit my job when Nicholas was born. And then I came back to Switzerland after my visit. And my heart just needed to do something. So I spoke with a few friends and we started doing little events in order to fundraise. So that
Hmm.
was the very, very beginning. Mhm.
Hmm. Hmm. And look at you now. I mean, you you brought other designers in. I mean, they all probably do their own things, but you really grew the initiative and the activity, and also to be independent of the commercial route, right?
Mm-hmm.
One could take with developing
Yes,
brands.
exactly.
So how did you then? I mean, that's a really moving story because and I'm sure that many people can or many women can relate to it. That suddenly when you have the baby, really it almost comes like with a strike. You
Mm-hmm.
see. First of all, you
Mm-hmm.
see, and then you see things differently, and you understand
Yes,
much more. So,
yes.
yeah, no. And you used this energy for something very beautiful. So,
Thank you.
how did you then? So you said you started in Switzerland with a small group and you started to fundraise. What was your, did you have a focus? I mean, did you want to, like, who was the group that you wanted to help the most and why?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So actually the focus, because at that point I didn't know that it was going to become a foundation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the focus at that very moment was to help those women and those children. There's like around 20 young women and 30 children around. And my focus was, what can I do? So before coming back here, I checked with my mother, we checked the house and make kind of a little list, okay, mattresses and they needed more bathrooms and more showers, very punctual things. So that was the very first focus, was to give them a little bit more comfort and especially that they were in a safer place, because the place
Mm-hmm.
they were living was not safe at all for them or for the children. And we did that once, I think 3 or 4 years in a row. And every time I went back to Ecuador, I visited the place and I saw the same sad faces. So then you realize, okay, some more comfort doesn't change people's life. It
Mm-hmm.
was,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure they were, or I hope they were sleeping a little bit better than before, but still life was remained the same for the women.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then it's when we start trying for the first time really talking to the women, not assuming what they need, but really
Mm-hmm.
talking to them and asking them, okay, what is it? And then they said, well, we can stay in the home 2 years. After 2 years, we have to leave. We have to start thinking, as soon as we get in, we have to start thinking what will happen 2 years later. Uh, and we have nothing after, so when we leave we have nothing. And then we realized that, or we what actually we thought that we would like to offer them, and they saw it, and they
Took the
they were not
opportunity.
exactly, they took the opportunity, was that they start learning simple things, let's call it simple things, that they could start doing as a business. The house where they were living, they have a bakery, and it has also a pasta fabric.
Mm-hmm.
Both were not so used because it was not up to date, and there was all machines, but we started helping them to put everything up to date in order for them to start working there, to start learning how to bake, how to do pasta, how to do, to start thinking about a business, how to look up in the surroundings, if there was all other bakeries, what products could they develop in order to be more interesting than the other places, and so on and on.
Mm-hmm.
So we started with a vocational training with these ladies, and that was, let's say, the beginning of where Avanzar is right now. Because right now Avanzar is really about entrepreneurship for ladies, for women, young woman, older woman, but it's really about entrepreneurship. Um, in many different areas. So now we cover gastronomy, bakery, beauty, massage, photography, and everything that the ladies do to make out of this a business. So they learn how to do their accounting, they learn how to do a business plan, they learn how to photograph their products, to upload them to Facebook. Um, yep. So what
Amazing.
nowadays you need to start.
But what this is amazing. And but what struck me also was that you realized you had something in mind to make it, pretty, like put new mattresses and probably new
Hmm.
towels and all of that. But then to
Exactly.
realize, why don't we ask? Why don't we just assume? But
Yeah.
that really is a process, right? When you come from different worlds, no
Hmm.
matter how, about asking the questions, what the problems are and what the needs are. Yeah, and then it
Yeah.
gets depth, and it's authentic, and it has also real meaning, and it's substantial for the women to build up their businesses.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And you have to keep digging all the time because it's
Yes.
not, in the moment that you start asking, of course they say, I would like to earn money. Then comes the next question. So what do you know how to do, or how do you see yourself earning
Hmm.
money? Is there something that you have learned before? Is there something that you would like to try to learn? Where could you sell your services, or it starts like a very long process trying to find out
Hmm.
what is the way that it will do them the best in order
Hmm.
to start. Hmm.
Hmm. I remember many, many years ago, I did one of the first events for women in New York City. And I think actually I collaborated with the Austrian embassy at that point. And we had someone from the Norwegian ministry there who was focusing on women. And
Hmm.
she talked about women and entrepreneurship and how important it is that women, get into the workforce either as entrepreneurs or as leaders. And then she said, let me introduce you to a leader of a team of 10 people. And she built her business. And then she showed a short movie about a woman in Brazil, I think Sao Paulo, who's collecting garbage, who's like going through
Yeah.
the garbage to collect like everything that needs to be recycled and things that she gets maybe, some like a few cents for and so on. And I realized in myself how unconsciously biased I was in a way that I assumed I would see a movie of a woman sitting at a desk.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Hmm.
so the amounts and the variation of businesses that are possible and really are like a means of survival for
Hmm.
generations. That is important, and yeah, it really is good if there are organizations like yours who are bridging, who are not only helping in Ecuador, but who are bridging for our, especially in Switzerland, rather rich and
Yeah.
content life,
Hmm.
to be able to see that and to understand that.
Yeah.
How was the feedback in Switzerland when you started to grow this? And were people open, and were they full on in support, or were you more by yourself?
Um, I have really received lots of support. I must say, I'm a big fan of Switzerland in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
I know the US is wonderful. I think US started with the whole philanthropy, making it big and making it loud,
Mm-hmm.
truly like that.
Yes.
Switzerland it has always been a humble place. People
Mm-hmm.
don't tell you, you can't really tell what people has or they don't have, but you encounter so many surprises on the way. People who are
Mm-hmm.
uh, extremely helpful, and they also want to be part of this, which is
Mm-hmm.
something that I think is very beautiful. It's not just
Mm-hmm.
about giving money.
Yeah.
There's many people who they go to Ecuador. They participate in many of the events we do, like we are doing it right now via
Mm-hmm.
Zoom. They are part of the graduations. They are part of the, because we with the women, we do graduation, we do a pitch, we do prizes for the best business idea. So we do several things in order to motivate the women, to bring them to speak about their projects and their businesses and their products and services. So this is also part of the education. And many of the
Wow.
donors are also part of that.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
That's
and
great.
you see it with how much love they are there. So sometimes it's really beautiful. Sometimes they said, I want to be there and I'm going to donate 500. It's like, okay, great. So 500, first prize 500. And then they start listen to the pitches and they say afterwards, they start sending me like with the telephone, we donate 500 for the first one, 1,000 for the second one, this is for the, and pizza for everybody who participated.
Yeah. Yeah.
You see that how much they care. No, Switzerland is a
Yeah.
wonderful place
Yeah.
uh, to
Yeah.
work. Yeah, I
Yeah.
receive lots of
Yeah.
support and love, and mhm.
Yeah. That's fantastic. So, but you also have developed products there and
Yes.
built a whole line of accessories.
Mhm.
When did start? When did this start?
This started in 2009.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we started a project at a hospital
Mm-hmm.
because we had this project of the women entrepreneurs. We realized that one of the things that it's really devastating for a poor family is when children or somebody in the family is sick, if they have to
Mm-hmm.
go to hospital.
Mm-hmm.
So a poor family can end up in the street if they have to pay for medical treatments and so on, because and in Ecuador, still medicine is not that good, and you are not that well um, covered. So seeing these and seeing that some women, they could have started with a job and doing things and producing things, but if one of the children were sick, not only that the whole reserves will go into the illness of these children, is also that these women would have to sit next to the children, because
Mm-hmm.
that's what they have to do in Ecuador, because you don't have that many nurses working in the hospitals, in the public hospitals. So the women would have to sit there day and night, means they were using their reserves and they didn't have the chance to work anymore. So what we started there was bringing materials, needles and threads,
Mm-hmm.
and teaching them how to do simple bags, simple hats, just something that you can do while you are taking care of your child. And we were surprised because the women were not only extremely skilled, so they started very fast, but they will they we will come the next day and they will say, look, I have a hat, I have this, and they will start selling it already to the nurses or to people in the streets in order
Very
to gain
good.
some money.
Mm-hmm.
So there was, many beautiful surprises on the way, but that was one of the surprises where I thought, okay, this is not just something to keep them busy while they were there,
Mm-hmm.
but this is also a possible business.
Mm-hmm.
And we are making the best out of the time that the women are sitting there with their children. So from these very, let's say, simple bags, simple in the sense that they have no inside lining, no leather, it was just knitted.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, we took a group of these women, I think it was 12 women from the hospital, and we invited them to be part of this Atelier Avanzar.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. So once the women could leave the hospital and they will come to us and we started doing the bags in 2009. The initial idea was that they could sell them locally.
Mm-hmm.
But then one of the ladies gave me a bag as a present, and I brought it here, and I was very happy with my bag. And a friend who lives just next door, she asked me about the bag. And I said, I told her the story, and she said, I want one. And
Mm-hmm.
then the next one, and then the next one. And then we thought, okay, this is not only a business for Ecuador, this can become a business for Switzerland as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, we start improving the quality, because in Switzerland, you have a very high standards and quality. And so we start really trying to
Stepping
make
up.
exactly. So that was at the very, very beginning of the Atelier Avanzar, where we do mainly bags, these beautiful, um,
Yes, I noticed that.
yeah, I
Gorgeous,
know.
gorgeous.
We also have uh, for necklaces, well, few things, but the main things are handmade bags.
hmm Wow, that's fantastic. And I'm sure it's been also a great learning for your children to see you do this and how you combine the two countries that you are living in and what can come from it, right? If we have our eyes open and if we are willing to support people in their natural surrounding
Mhm,
with their natural needs. That's
mhm,
fantastic. And so now but you are also taking the Atelier Avanzar, and you also have a number of other brands, and then you do these atelier days in Switzerland.
mhm.
How often do you do them in a year? Because I think it's very exciting to discover brands that are in a way purposeful, but also just not mainstream and
Mhm,
still,
mhm.
have beautiful material and beautiful, yes, just beautiful craftsmanship and creativity. I think everybody's kind of longing for that.
Yeah, 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 totally. No, no, that's the right broad moment to do this because I think the more fast fashion you have, the more Temus and Shane's. The other side of that is the more the people realize how beautiful it is to have something that's really handmade, that it's really made by a person, not by a machine, that it's a unique piece. And
Mhm.
all our bags, they come with a tag, with the picture of the person who did it, and
Mhm.
when the certificate that says how many pieces we have done and how many
Mhm.
hours. So we try to let people know what it's all behind our
Yes.
product.
Mhm.
But to answer your question, when we started with the Atelier Avanzar, so with our own social enterprise, one of the reasons to do that was to fundraise because we didn't. We wanted to have some kind of independence in that sense. And not only be dependent of larger foundations giving us money. And we also wanted to give work, so well-paid, fair work in Ecuador. So it ticked many of the boxes.
Mhm.
Um, but then we realized at the same time that if you do things made by hand, you cannot become huge because made by hand means few pieces.
Limitation.
Exactly, limitation. And we realized that we were not alone in this, that there was all the other brands in similar situations, that they were not going to have a store in the Bahnhofstrasse and made thousands of things. And this became an opportunity to create a group of brands that were in similar situations. So this group is not a steady group. We call for brands 3 times a year. So the one event was in April, the second event is tomorrow, and the third
Mhm.
event is in November. So,
Mhm.
and we look for those brands that are um, handmade or made in small batches that are unique.
Mhm.
Usually the designer is there. So
Mhm.
at the event, which is very interesting because you can find out, okay, if I like something, how this something was done, where, by whom, how many hours, um, and so on and on. And this makes a huge difference. I mean, I also, of course, I also go and shop in Zurich, and I realized the difference between shopping from somebody who's behind the product, who has done the product or designed the
Mhm.
product, or shopping from a sales lady who can be wonderful, but still there's not this
Mhm.
love for the product, for what they are doing, for what they are selling. So
Mhm.
yes, so we do this event 3 times a year,
Mhm.
2 days in a row. We have between 15 and 25 brands coming
Wow.
together. And as I said, most of them, they are the designers standing there saying hi to the client.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's fantastic. So, with all that you've created over the past 25, 26 years, it's not only big and very active, bridging two countries, cultures, doing good.
Mm.
It it's really purpose driven and so meaningful. So, what would you say is your learning out of this, or what has been the learning curve from, like, logistical things to maybe something more internal?
Well, that's a huge question
I know, I
because
tend to
there's
do that.
exactly, I could stay here for hours. Um, I think, but if I would just
Hmm.
spontaneously say two, three things. Um, if you have the passion, you will always have the energy. I think
Hmm.
that's one of the most important things because everything was learned by doing. There was no
Mm.
knowledge behind. But if you have the passion, you start talking to people who have already done it, talking to beneficiaries, learning in thousands of ways. Um, it's there is also an advantage if you do the learn by doing is that you are not limited by the people or the organizations who did it before in a certain way. You
Hmm.
start finding your own ways, and maybe these creativities, for example, what had the atelier been born, um, thinking, okay, why not?
Hmm.
Yeah, we can do this, and we try, and being a small team, we can always take decisions. This is also something I must say very important. Um, Evaluating what you are doing on time, not waiting too long, because as a small team and foundation, we have to make sure that all our resources are well invested, that we have
Hmm.
that we make the biggest impact with what we are doing with the
Hmm.
means that donors are giving us. So this is a work that we're doing all the time within the team, is evaluating, talking. Did we do a mistake, or did it went better than we expected, doing changes?
Hmm.
So I would say that's one of the other things that I would say it has been a very interesting learning process. There's nothing, how do you say that in English? It's nothing has been carved in stone that you
Hmm.
cannot
Hmm.
change if it's
Hmm.
not working. Just change things.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
after every, let's say, big change that we have done, I have seen wonderful things that have happened, from going to no, you cannot change it, to being afraid of change it, to take the decision to change it, to say thanks God we changed
Yes, yes. And for yourself, what would you say is like a learning for you as a person
As
in
a
this?
person. I would say the learning is all women are the same all over. We want to be loved. We want to have the opportunity to love our children, our couples, our friends, and we only need the chances. We only
Hmm.
need to be given the
Opportunities.
chances. Some
Mm.
were born with chances. I was a lucky child. My parents were there for me. They loved me. They could send me to school. Not everybody had that. But those who don't have it, they want exactly the same that I want. So it's since we all want the same, let's support each other to
Hmm.
achieve the
Hmm.
same goals. Mhm.
Hmm. Yes. Well, that's actually a nice note to end this. And so tomorrow you have the next atelier days in
Mhm.
Zurich.
Yes.
How long is that usually? Is that a week or 3 days or
It's actually 2 days.
2 days? Hmm.
It's 2 days, but it's full 2 days. So we are
Okay.
there
Okay.
from early in the morning to late in the even to the evening, and yeah, it's wonderful. Many people from the so-called Gold Küste, so the Gold Coast, come by. So and they really take the time to discover
Hmm.
and to handpick beautiful products from all
Nice.
around the world.
Nice. And when is the next one? In the fall or
Yes, in November.
in
So
November? Hmm.
I think 10th and 11th of November.
Hmm.
And then it's going to be, I think, 25 to 30 brands, again from all around the world. Yeah, it's lovely. I really loved these 2 days in contact with the visitors and the exhibitors and the
Creators,
ladies
yeah.
in Ecuador. They are waiting for the orders, so it's like win win win.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Mhm.
Well, congratulations to all this. This is very impressive and very inspiring also,
Thank you
Margarita.
very much.
Thank you so much for telling and sharing this story. And I wish you good luck for the next 2 days. And
Thank you very
yeah,
much.
it was lovely to speak to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me here.